Yeah, so we live. My apologies. We didn't start anything yet. I was just saying as you come in, share the live to your class group, share the live to your WhatsApp status, share the live to I don't know your friend, your friends group and so on, Facebook, TikTok, wherever you all are, share the live there so that we'll go through the solutions. All right, so can you hear me now? Let me see. Let me see what's going on in the chat. Okay, good. All right, so I was busy sharing with the link to different places, so I forgot to unmute and speak. All right, so I'm happy that you're hearing. Imagine if I had gone through the entire live without unmuting, that would have been terrible. That would have been terrible, boy. Oh my goodness. Yes, so let's go. I was asking how was the exam? How prepared are you? Anyways, let's go through the paper. I can tell you up front, this paper was a reasonably easy paper, I want to say. It wasn't too difficult, not too big and fancy. Um, if you like maths, you would have enjoyed this paper a lot because it tackled all the nice areas in maths that students like. And if you don't like maths and you did not study, you did not prepare, or you prepared the night before, you'll find the paper hard. So, all right, so let's go. Let's go. So I'm monitoring the comments on YouTube. I wanted to go live on TikTok, but probably another day. I have to set that up. So let's go. So the question, let me just, since this is the last mock exam, now everything that we do from now going forward will be aimed towards the actual CSEC exam. So let me just go through the instructions quickly that students tend to ignore. The main one, so the list of formula provided in page 2. I'm sure everybody got it this time. Um, there's one. Numerical answers that are not exact should be given corrected 3 significant figures or 1 decimal place for angles in degrees. So if you have a big fancy number, you should round it off correct to 3 significant figures. Many students tend to ask, so what should you round off to? So here you have your answer in front of the paper, 3 significant figures, or if it's an angle, 1 decimal place. Or unless stated otherwise, sometimes the question will tell you to round your answer correct um, to the nearest degree or nearest meter. If that is not stated, then you follow what is in front of the booklet. All right, good. So let's go. What schools do we have in the chat? What schools do we have? Send your school. So let's go into the paper. So your electronic calculator, geometry set. These are the things that you need. So make sure you don't have the programmable calculator. The calculator that you can punch in these fancy equations and so. Um, Make sure it's the normal one. My favorite calculator to use is the Sharp. Can this be seen? Yes, it's the Sharp calculator. Or I think some students have this one as well. What brand is this? Kirda. I don't want to make sure the one that you're using now, you should use that one until CSEC. Because you want to get accustomed. You want to use the one in the exam that you're accustomed to. Don't go borrow one from a friend that is fancy and you don't know to find certain functions. So let's go. So these are the formulas. So let's go. Number one. Using a calculator. Otherwise, remember as you come in, share the link to your class group, share the link on WhatsApp, share the link on TikTok, Instagram, and like the video as well. I think that spreads it around to other students sitting the exam when they go on YouTube. YouTube will recommend this because it was liked and so on. So spread it so that everybody can learn. We all in this together. We all want to pass the maths. So let's go. Number one, using the calculator. Otherwise, calculate the exact value of, and we have this going for 1 mark. I am assuming if you got this one incorrect, let's just say you made a mistake. But if you did not know how to work this one, then we're in some serious, serious trouble. So let's use our calculator. So I'm using my calculator. So I'll do 2.76 divided by 0.84. I'll divide that and I'll get 3.45. And then I will add that to, I will square 8.7. I will square that and I'll get an answer of 75.69. And when I add these two together, 3.45 plus that, I'll get 79.14. So that's the answer, 79.14 for one easy mark, nice and Go to keep the blood flowing. All right, so write your answer at A in scientific notation. So the thing is scientific notation, it's also called standard form. So anytime you see scientific notation, know that they're talking about standard form. They both mean the same thing. So to write this here in standard form or scientific notation, so we have 79.14. We know the objective of writing a number in standard form is to put it in this form, which is A multiplied by 10 raised to a certain power. You're always multiplying by 10 and you're always raising the 10 to a certain power. And this A now will be a number that is greater than 1, but less than 10. Some people say put it between the first two digits. However, the first two digits, when you finish moving that, the number should be greater than 1, but less than 10. So you have to move this here and put it between the 7 and the 9. So we just move it one time. So this would be 7.914 multiplied by 10. You're always multiplying by 10. And because we just moved it one time in that direction, this would be 1 power, the first power. All right, and that is that. So the next one says express as a single fraction. So my thing when you have these kind of fractions, when you have a fraction in which something is going on at the top and something else is going on at the bottom, my thing would be to just work out the top piece first and then work with the bottom piece and then divide the top by the bottom. All right, so you can just punch this in your calculator as well. So I have a video on my TikTok about how to punch in fractions in the calculator. So make sure you're good to go with that. So it's be 2 and 1 over 2 minus 4 and 4 over 5. That would give me 1 and 7 over 10. And this will be divided by, so I'll have 2 and 3 over 4 multiplied by 2, 2 and 3 over 4 multiplied by 2. That will give me 5 and 1 over 2. And then I just divide the top by the bottom. So this will be 1 and 7 over 10 divided by 5 and 1 over 2. And that will give me, I'll get an answer of 17 over 55. And that is a nice and easy 2 marks, giveaway marks. So very kind with this paper. How are we looking in the chat? We looking good so far? Yeah, remember like the video so that they can spread and so on can be recommended to other people. Not sure if my chat is frozen, but not seeing anything going on in the chat. Let me come out and going back. Yeah, good. So let's go. I'm now seeing the chat. So how are we looking so far? Good. So using the calculator, otherwise write the exact value of. So we wanted to see how good you are with the calculator. So we'll have sine 52 divided by cos 52. So that will give me 1 point. They say write the exact value. So they put exact in all caps. So this will be 1.279941632. And then they wanted us to write this to 2 decimal places. So we know for 2 decimal places, we count 2 numbers after the decimal point. Decimal places, we start counting from the first number after the decimal point. So we count 1, 2, and then we look at the number after the second one, which is 9. And if it's 5 and more, we add 1 to the previous one. So this will be 1.28 to 2 decimal places. And then they wanted us to write this to 3 significant figures. So 4 significant figures, we start counting from the first non-zero digit. All right, decimal place, start counting from the first number after the decimal point. Significant figures, we start counting from the first non-zero digit. So the first number that is not zero, we count that. We start counting from that. So three significant figures, we count 1, 2, 3. And the same thing, the number after we stop at, it's 5 and more. So we add 1 to the previous one, so this would be 1.28. And that is that to three significant figures. All right, and I think that was number one. No, we got one more question for number one. So this one says, in this question, use Canadian $1 is equal to Jamaican $72.50. So on a vacation, Steve used his credit card to buy a camera for Canadian $250. His credit limit is Jamaican $30,000. After buying the camera, how many Canadian dollars does he have left on his credit card? So we see the camera costs. So we see the camera costs 250 Canadian dollars. And he has a credit card limit of this 30,000. So what we can do, since they want the answer, they want to know how many Canadian dollars he has left. We will convert this 30,000 to Canadian dollars to get how much is his limit on his card. So this will be 30,000 divided by, so since we convert it from Jamaica, which is the smaller currency, and we go into a higher currency, meaning Canadian dollars has more value, we'll divide by the 72.50. So this will be 30,000 divided by 72.50, and hence this will give us 30,000 divided by 72.50. That would give us, so we'll get a 413.793 and so on and some long numbers. So since we're dealing with money, we'll just run it off the two decimal places. So this will be 413.79. This is how much money he has on, this is the limit. So to find how much money he will have remaining after he buys the camera, this will be 413, 413.79, subtract the $250 dollars that he paid for the camera. Hence, this will be, so 413.79 divided by 250. That would give us, sorry, did I say divided? I mean subtracted by 250. So we subtract that from 250, we'll get an answer of $163.79. And that is how much money he has left on his camera. So we know to answer this question, we put a little statement. We can say, what's his name, Steve? So Steve has $163.79 is dollars and Canadian dollars left on his credit card. Remember, the question was given in a statement, so you want to answer it in a statement. All right, so don't leave the answer to be interpreted by the person marking. How are we looking? That was number one. How are we looking? So number one went for a total of 9 marks. How many you got out of 9 so far? You don't want to be making silly mistakes. How many you got out of 9? All right, let's continue number 2. Number 2 says write as a single fraction in its lowest terms. So these kind of questions, you're asked to basically do some simplification, and this will involve using your knowledge on algebra, right? Number 2 deals with algebra. So you want to write this as a single fraction. That means we must add this fraction to this fraction. So the thing is, whether we're dealing with algebraic fractions or normal fractions, the same rules will apply. When you have normal fraction, let's say we had 1/5, and we want to add it to 3/, I don't know, 7. The first thing we find the LCM because the denominators are not the same, and you know, whatever is the LCM, 7 5 to the 5, we divide this by the 5. And then whatever answer we get, we multiply by the top here. And then with the same thing, we divide it to the 5 by 7. Whatever answer we get, we multiply by the top here. So the same thing we do when we are dealing with algebraic fractions. So we have x minus 2 over 3 plus x plus 1 over 4. So the first thing you want to do is you find the LCM of 3 and 4 because the denominators are not the same. So the LCM of 3 and 4 would be 12. And we divide the 12 by the 3. 12 divided by 3 would give us 4. So we take that 4 and multiply it by everything in the numerator. So this would be 4 multiplied by everything here. So this will be 4 multiplied by x minus 2. And then we add this to 12 divided by 4. That would give us 3. Then we multiply this, the numerator by 3. Everything in the numerator by 3. So this will be 3 multiplied by x plus 1. And then we work this out. So we have the distributive law. From the time you see a term directly outside the bracket, you use a distributive law to get rid of the brackets. So this 4 has to multiply everything in this bracket. So this will be 4 times x will give us 4x. 4 times -2 will give us -8. And then this will be positive 3 multiplied by x. That will give us plus 3x. And a positive 3 multiplied by 1 will give us plus 3. All of this. All of this will be divided by 12. So we have the terms at the top. So we know to simplify the top. I think that I always tell my students to always group the like terms. From the time you're simplifying, group the like terms, put the like terms together. And a key thing to remember when you are grouping like terms is that you have to move, whenever you're moving around, you move with the sign in front. So we put this here together with this. So this will be 4x plus 3x. And then we move this here, so the minus has to remain in front here. So this will be -8 plus 3, all divided by 12. And then this will be simplified to 4x plus 3x. That will give us 7x. And -8 plus 3, we have to treat this as a negative. So -8 plus 3, that would give us 5 as the answer. -5. -8 plus 3 give us a -5, and all of this will be divided by 12. So hence our answer, when we simplify this, we'll have 7x minus 5, all divided by 12. We had to use our knowledge of algebra there. All right, how are we looking? Let me use my other phone to read the comments. For some reason, the comments aren't flowing on this one. Let me see how I can get that. Because I want to read the comments and I want to see what is going on. All right, good. So I'm seeing him now. Good, lovely, lovely. So I'll use this phone. How are we looking, chat? How are we looking? I'm now seeing the comments. So let's go to the next one, factorize completely. And I have a video that talks about all the different ways that you can factorize, right? CSEC would ask you. We have one difference of 2 square, 2 distributive law via the distributive law, and then we have the third one, which is the AC method, when you factorize in a quadratic. All of them, all of the different factorization, they are centered around those 3 main ones. All right. So this one we have xy squared plus x to the second power y. And we ask to factorize this for 1 mark. So when you see 1 mark, it's not a lot of work you have to do. So let's look at the terms that are the same, the like terms. I shouldn't say like term, bad term. Let's look at the same, the letters that are the same. So we have x here, and we have x to the second power. So we see the highest common factor, and the highest common factor between two terms that are the same, but they got not that, but they got a different power. For example, x and x squared. The highest common factor will be, the lowest power in common. The lowest power will be the highest common one. All right. For example, if you have let's say you have $1,000. Your friend has your friend has 5,000. The next friend got 10,000. I want to know what is the highest common money all you got in common. The highest common money is, the $1,000. Each one of you can get 1,000. So in the same way, the highest common term would be the term with the lowest power. So we factor out that x. And then the same thing we do for the y. We have y squared and we have y. The common one, the highest common one would be y. All right, so we factor out xy. So we have xy squared all divided by xy. When you're factoring out, that means you're dividing. So when we factor out xy from the first term, this x will go with this. This y will go with one of the y. So we'll have y plus, when we factor out x squared y, we factor out xy from the second term. This y will go with this y. This x will go with one of this x. So we'll have plus x. So the answer is xy in bracket outside the bracket, in bracket y plus x. And how can you check to see if your answer is correct? By simply multiplying, by doing a distributive law. So if you multiply xy by y, we'll end up with xy squared, which is at the top here. If you multiply xy by x, you end up with x squared y, which is at the top here. And that is a nice indication to show that, to see that you're going correct. All right, good. All right, so if you're in the chat and somebody asks a question and you notice I did not answer it, feel free to respond to them and, help them out, because I won't be seeing, I can't see everything. Any one of my students in the chat? Any one of my students are you in the chat? If you're in the chat, drop something, let me see. If you're my student and you're there. Somebody said this was left blank. No, don't leave these kind of questions blank. These are easy questions, all right? So let's go. The second one, we have 49 minus x squared. And can somebody in the chat tell me? All right, so I see Adir. All right, Jeremiah. Okay, good. Yeah, I got some fancy names, man. You can talk about them names in class. You can talk about their names tomorrow. So can somebody in the chat tell me how do we factorize? What method do we use to factorize this? We got two terms, they're subtracting, and what method do we use? Let me hear. Let me see who got this one right. Anybody? Drop it. All right, so you see, surprise Japanese, whoever that is, difference of two square, right? Difference of two square. Now, I love these questions as a student. I use a glad when these questions come, nice and easy. So we know for difference of two square, we have two square terms. All right, not perfect square, difference of two square, right? Right, it's called difference of two square because, it's subtracting. That is where the difference comes from. And then we have a squared number and another squared term. Hence, difference of two squares. So the name is, the way we factorize it, it's in the name. So you open two brackets quickly, bop, bop. We ask ourselves, what can we multiply to get 49? We know we can multiply 7 by 7 to get 49. And the same thing for the x. We ask ourselves, what can we multiply by itself to give you x squared? We know we can multiply x by x to give you x squared. Hence, in one bracket you add, and the other bracket you subtract. And that is how you factorize this for 1 mark. So the thing is, a fancy thing that students do when they see questions like this, for the 9 minus x squared, they go and do some fancy thing, put the x outside and some fancy thing. No. 0 marks if you do that. Nice and easy mark. Look out for the difference of two square. Two terms, square terms, and they're subtracting difference of 2 squared. Nothing big and fancy. So let's carry on. So we have this one. We have to factorize this. So we know this here. What do you call this kind of expression? Somebody in the chat tell me quick. What do we call this kind of expression? All right, I see somebody saying quadratic. All right, quadratic. Nice. So it's a quadratic expression. Now, whether you see you know, the b instead of x, it's a quadratic, right? Don't be carried away because you see a b, you know, you're worried now. Factorize is a smart thing to do. Not saying that if you're confused with the b, if you know you cram how to factorize, you know, you can replace the b with an x in a car now. You know, you'll have a scrap page. You know, 2x squared minus 9x plus 10. And hopefully that will allow you to see it better. But yeah, you do the same thing, right? You do the same thing. So let's go. We have to see what is A, identify what is A, what is B, and what is C. So we see A is a number in front of the x squared term. In this case, A would be 2, but not really x squared. In this case, it would be B squared. And B would be the number in front of the x term. In this case, it's B. So it would be negative 9. So some students would go and put 9 and forget about the negative. The sign in front governs the term, right? Always remember that. The sign in front governs the term. And C would obviously be 10. So the AC method dictates that we multiply A by C, which will be 2 times 10, which will give me 20. And then this 20 now, very important number. We want two numbers. When we multiply it, we should get this 20. And then we add those two numbers. We want to involve the thing that wasn't involved all the time, which is B, right? You already use A and C. Now we want involve B as well. So you ask yourself, what two numbers can we use? We can use, say it's a negative 9. So that means one number. So it's a negative 9 and we have a positive 20. That means since it's negative, both numbers should be negative. So let's try, we can't try 2 and 10. That won't work. So let's try, we know 4 times 5 would give us 20, but that won't give us a negative 9. So we'll try negative 4 times negative 9. A negative times a negative will give me, so not 9, 4 times negative 4 times 5. A negative 4 times negative 5 would give me a positive 20. And if I add 4, negative 4 plus negative 5, that would give me a negative 9. So hence, this is the important term that we substitute here. So we got two signs together here. We can just cancel out that and put a minus. So we'll have 2b squared minus 4. I'm using this here. So minus 4. Now we just put back whatever letter is there. So minus 4b minus 5b plus 10. And then we pair off. And then we factorize each bracket. So we have 2b squared minus 4b. We look at the numbers first. What is common between 2 and 4? So we see the highest common factor between 2 and 4 is 2. And then we have b squared and b. The highest common factor between b squared and b would be b. And we factor out. So when we factor out 2b from the first term, we're left with b. And factor out 2b from the second term, we're left with negative 2. And then we go to the second bracket. So we have the negative here, so we factor out the negative first. So next thing we factor out, we look at the numbers 5 and 10. You see the highest common factor between 5 and 10 would be 5. So we factor out negative 5 from the bracket. So when we factor out negative 5 from the first term, it's like we got negative 5b divided by negative 5. This negative will go with that. This 5 will go with that. So we're left with b. And we factor out -5 from the second term, which is -10. So, sorry, not -10, this is a positive 10. So 10 divided by -5, 10 divided by 5 will give me 2. And a positive divided by a negative will give me a negative. So this will be left with a -2. So we see our two brackets are the same. So that is how you know that you're going correct. Your two brackets should be the same. So here's the thing, folks. I got videos like these factorizing these things on YouTube. I think I lately did one like a couple weeks ago. And I spoke about this in detail. I got like 3 videos factorizing. So after this live, you can go on my channel and scroll through, and I go through that in detail, right? So if you don't know to factorize, please go and do that. Please go and look through those videos, right? Don't bubble, man. Don't bubble. You got a month and change. You can't be hoping and praying alone. You gotta put some work, right? So go and look back at those videos and get them. Anyway, so once the two brackets are the same, we know we're going correct. So we take what is outside and we put that in the bracket. So this will be 2b minus 5, and then b minus 2 in another bracket. And full marks, 2 marks, I think this is going for. Nice and easy, 2 marks. Somebody said they missed 2 marks. Yeah. All right. Thankfully, it's the mock exam. Thankfully, it's the mock exam, and you'll you'll make up for it in the actual exam. And that is the beauty of mock exams. I hope we've all been learning and learning, and we'll make it count when it matters, right? So let's look at this one. So the table below shows corresponding values of variables x and y, where y varies directly as x. Now, there are 2 ways in which two terms can vary, I should say, or 2 ways something can variate in CSEC. So they can vary directly, and also they can vary inversely. Another thing they can say, they are directly, y is directly proportional to x, which is the same thing as y varies directly as x. Or they can say y varies inversely as x, or they are inversely proportional, right? So when it varies directly, that is nice and easy. A nice equation to come up with this to represent this statement, y varies directly as x. We can simply say y is equal to x, and there is something that you have to multiply this x by to represent this varies part. So it will simply be k. Y is equal to kx. K is the constant of proportionality. That is the thing that links x and y. So it's always y equal kx. And if they, and at the end of this, I'll show you how else they can bring this question. But let's go through the answers. So y is equal to kx. So they want us to find the value of a and b. So for us, whenever you're dealing with proportion or variation, the first thing you want to do is find the value of k. That's the first thing you want to do, find the value of k. How do you find the value of k? By taking a value of x and the corresponding y value, and then you substitute that, and you find the value of k. All right, so we got x is equal to 2, 12, y is equal to 12. So we can say 12 is equal to k multiplied by x, which is 2. And to find for k, this 2 is multiplied, and we take double divide. So we'll have 12 divided by 2 is equal to k. Hence k is equal to 12 divided by 2 is 6. So the value of k is 6. So k wouldn't change in this question. Well, from the time you find k, you're gonna clear in the question. So let's find our value for when y is equal to a. So in this case, we see the corresponding x value will be 5. So we use the same equation, y is equal to kx. So we see y, in this case, we see y is equal to a. So we say a is equal to k, which is 6. 6 multiplied by x, which is 5. So a would be equal to 6 5s, 30. So the value of a is 30. And then we're going to find the corresponding value for b when y is equal to 48. So we use the same equation again. Y is equal to kx. Hence, in this case, y is equal to 48. So we have 48 is equal to the value of k, which is 6, times x in this case, which is b. 6 times b. So the 6 is multiplying the b, and we take it over to divide. So we'll have 48 divided by 6 is equal to b. Hence b would be equal to 48 divided by 6. B is equal to 8. So the value of b is equal to 8, and I think this went for 3 marks. 1 mark to find k, next mark to find a, next mark to find b. How are we looking, chat? We cooking or are we cooked? We beating the maths or the maths beating us? All right, easy 3 marks, somebody said. Love to see it. All right. Next one. All right, so I don't have the tools for this one, so let's go to this one. So this was a nice and easy 1 mark. Anybody, if you lost a mark here, then I will pray for you tonight. I would say a lengthy prayer for you if you did not get this 1 mark. All right. In fact, I'll fast. I'll fast and pray for you if you did not get this 1 mark. So state the coordinates of the point A, B, and C in the triangle. So the coordinates of A, so we see we go 2 across, and since this is 2, we know this will obviously be 1. So the coordinates for A would be across 2, 1. So A would be 2, 1. B, so we see B is here. So we see if this is 2, here will obviously, let me use another color. Here will obviously be 3, and here will obviously be 3 as well. So we see point B is equal to, so we go 3 across, 3 up. So B is equal to 3. The last one, C. So C, we see that is here, so that is 5. And we see this is 1, so C is at 5 across, 1 up, so C is 5, 1. So those are the points for A, B, and C. If you did not get those correct, I'll pray for you. Do I need to pray for anybody? And fast? So using the same scales as the diagram above, draw on the graph paper provided triangle ABC and its image A prime, B prime, C prime after a reflection on the x-axis. All right, so using the same scale, so we see nice scale here. So let me draw that draw back that tear. So I'll use another color so that it can be seen nice and easy. So I'll draw, let me zoom out a little. So you draw straight on here. And I'll draw across here. So this is X, this is Y. So you see we got 5 and 4. So let me go. So here it'd be 1. Am I seeing this color? Let me use another color. Let me use red. Here would be 2, 3, 4. You have to make sure you use the same scale. 5, 6. And I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I also have to go down -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. And I draw back the triangle. So we see A is 2, 1. So I go 2, 1, 2 across, and 1. So A would be there. And B is 3, 3. So I go 3 across, 1 up. That is there, B. And C is 5, 1. So I go 5 across, 1 up. And I connect to get the triangle A, B, C. Then they want me to reflect this over the x-axis. So when you want to reflect over the x-axis, all you have to do is just reflect each point over the x-axis. You count down and go to the x-axis. So for A, we count down one time. And because we counted down one time, the reflection of A would be, we just have to count out one time from the x-axis. So A prime would go right here. And the same thing for B. We count down 1, 2, 3 times to the x-axis. So that means we must count out one time to the 3 times as well to the x-axis. So we count out 1, 2, 3, and this would be B prime. And same thing for C. We count and go one time to the x-axis. That means we must count out one time from the x-axis. So C prime would be right here. Then we just connect. And we see our triangle is there and it's looking like it's reflected over the x-axis. So that is the answer there. Easy mark. All right. If you wanted to reflect over the y-axis, you count on the y-axis is here. Oops. The y-axis is here, so you count and go towards that axis. Reflection is easy. Reflection is probably the easiest. Reflection and translation, those are the two easiest transformation geometry that you have to perform or describe. All right, and I'll video later on. I'll come back live and I'll do a CSEC revision with my students and we'll talk about, transformation geometry. Anyway, so let's proceed. So how are we looking for the 9 marks? Somebody said they cooking. Lovely. We cook, it had to reflect. Yeah, reflect, right? Let's go this one. The diagram below shows a semicircle with a diameter AC and a point B on the circumference. AB is equal to BC, which is also equal to 8.2. So state the geometrical name of AB. Somebody tell me in the chat, what is the geometrical name for AB? Geometrical name for AB. I'm sure we'll get it for us. I'll pick up that person once they got a nice name. The Japanese maples. Who's that? What's your name, Japanese maple? So yes, it is the chord. It is the chord. AB, which is this line here. AB, which is this beautiful line. It's the chord. All right. Nice and easy one, Mark. All right, find the value of the radius of the circle. So they told us that this here is 8.2 and they told us that this is 8.2 as well, 8.2 cm. So here's the thing we're dealing with. They did not say this, but it's an angle in a circle. But it's a triangle formed from a diameter. And did they say it in the question, diameter? No, they did not state. So because a triangle is formed in this semicircle, we know this angle here would be a right angle because of one of the theorems that we know, your favorite theorem, right? A triangle, the angle in a semicircle is right angle. So because it's a right angle and we are given two sides and we want to find the other side, we know we have to use the beautiful theorem that is called the Pythagoras' theorem. And if Pythagoras' theorem states the square of the longest side is equal to the sum of the squares of the two remaining sides. All right, which translates to a square is equal to b square plus c square. I don't really like that a square is equal to b square plus c square because if it's that, a is not the longest side, students will still go and use whatever side a is. So I would always say the Pythagoras theorem says the square of the longest side is equal to the sum of the squares of the two remaining sides. All right, so let's go. Let's find this side. Let's call it x. Let's call it b. Just for the sake of things. So we can say b squared, which is this side here, which is the diameter, is equal to 8.2 squared plus 8.2 squared. So b squared would be equal to 8.2 squared when we square 8.2. We get the value of 67.24 plus 67.24. So hence b squared would be equal to, we add these two together, we get 134.48. And then to find for b, it will just be b is equal to, we take over the square to become the square root of 134.48. That will give us a value of b is equal to approximately 11.596. So we'll just say 11.6 cm. However, that is not the radius of the circle. B is not the radius. B is actually the diameter. See if you go and leave 11.16 as the answer, you miss out on some marks, right? So we know this is the diameter. So if that is the diameter, hence the radius will be equal to 11.6 cm divided by 2, because the radius is half the diameter. So hence when we halve this, we'll get a value of 11.6 divided by 2 will give us a value of 5.8 cm. So the radius is equal to 5.8 cm. Somebody say, oh shoot. All right, do all the shooting now, and don't shoot in the actual exam, right? Make all the mistakes now. We had 3 exams to make mistakes. I am hoping and praying that y'all use out all the mistakes and make out all the mistakes that you have to make. Right? I'm hoping and we don't have any more mistakes remaining for the actual CSEC. So the next one says, each interior angle of a regular polygon is 160 degrees. Calculate the number of sides of the polygon. So here's the thing, when you have any polygon, when you have any polygon or so, so for example, let me just draw a random shape. Let me just draw a triangle. So the sum of, so let's say we had a triangle, and let's say they told us that the exterior angle is 160. I'm just using a random shape, right? 160 degrees. The interior angle for this triangle will be, it will fall on a straight line. All the exterior angles will just be the extension of here. So this will be the exterior, this will be the interior. We extend here. We extend here. This will be the exterior, this will be the interior. So the relationship between the exterior angle and the interior angle, you just minus the exterior angle from 180 to get the interior angle. So the interior angle will be 20 degrees. All right. So if you do 180 minus 160, you'll get 20 degrees for the interior angle. So if each interior angle is equal to 160, all right, so I worked this wrong, my bad. I read this question very, very wrong, right? So the question says each interior angle of a regular polygon is 160. So I think I read exterior. So each interior angle of a regular polygon is 160. Calculate the number of sides of the polygon. So let's say I can't use triangle because you can't get one angle in the triangle to be 160. Let's say I have let me just draw a random shape, right? This looks like a regular polygon. All right, imagine this is a regular polygon. So the same thing I was saying. So if the interior angle of this polygon is 160, the corresponding exterior angle will just be 160 minus 120. Sorry, 160 minus 180. 180 minus 160. Because of the rule that I told you just now, this will be 20 degrees. Because it will fall on a straight line. The interior angle and exterior angle will fall on a straight line. So because the exterior angle is 20 degrees, there's a rule that states to find the number, when you add up all of the exterior angles, you will get 360 degrees regardless of, the shape. When you add up all of the exterior angles of any polygon, you will get 360 degrees regardless of, the shape. So because of this rule, to find the number of sides of the polygon, we'll just say 360 degrees divided by 20, and this will give us the number of sides for the polygon. So 360 divided by 20, this will go with that. 36 divided by 2 will give us 18. So 18 sides. Because of the rule that says when you add up all of the exterior angles, you will get 360 degrees, regardless of the type of polygon. All right, so all you need to do is find one exterior angle, and then you just divide that by 360 to get the number of sides. All right, because of the rule. So that is 2 marks. All right, so this is not the shape, and I just use that as an example. So we're looking. Anyway, so let's proceed. So circle theorem. What was the circle theorem question? Hard or easy? Somebody saying yeah, you can use that as well. What? Yeah, you can use that as well, that rule as well. Anyway, so the diagram below now drawn to scale shows a circle with center O, the points A, B, C, and M are on the circumference. The straight line CN is a tangent to the circle at the point C, and is perpendicular to BN. CAB is equal to 58 degrees. Oh yeah, how we manage with this question? So I gave some tips on circle theorem on TikTok, right? So one of the tips, I'll use these tips here. So one of the tips that I give, I said always be on the lookout for cyclic quadrilaterals. All right, and if I look at this shape, I can already see a cyclic quadrilateral. That's the first thing you want to be on the lookout for. If you see a cyclic quadrilateral, that means, you have to use that theorem that says the opposite sides are supplementary, right? They won't give you a cyclic quadrilateral unless you have to use it. Then I also said be on the lookout for triangles, be on the lookout for isosceles triangles and triangles in general. Try to form triangles. Anyways, let's go into the question. The first one says determine ABC and give reasons for your answer. So ABC, so angle ABC would be this angle here. So angle ABC would be that angle. So we see that this is a diameter, and then we have a triangle formed in the diameter. That means this angle here would be 90 degrees. And because that angle is 90, and we have this angle as 58 degrees, then we know ABC would simply be equal to 180 minus 90 plus 58. This would be 180 minus 90 plus 58. That would give us 148, hence when we minus 180 from that, we'll get 32 degrees. So angle ABC is equal to 32 degrees, and our reason would be the angle in a semi-circle is 90 degrees, right? And also we can say the sum of angles in a triangle, is 180. But we already showed that here, but anybody got this one correct? Yeah, I cook for this one, or this one was tight. Come on, this one was an easy one, right? So let me put in the next tip that I gave you, put in the angle that you find. So we found this here to be 32. So put in all the angles that you can. So let's move on to the next one, CMB. CMB would be this angle here. So once again, as I told you, we see a cyclic quadrilateral being formed here. And CMB is opposite to 58. So because of the rule that says opposite angles in a cyclic quadrilateral are supplementary, we know to find CMB. So we can say CMB would be equal to 180 subtract 58, which will give us 122 degrees. And the reason would be opposite angles in a cyclic quadrilateral are supplementary. Or if you don't remember the word supplementary, you can say, they add up to 180 degrees if you don't remember the word supplementary. And that was our two questions. Do we have any more? Nah, those are those two angles we gotta find. Nice and easy, 2 marks. Let's hope circle theorem will come as easy as this. How, 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 how we looking? All right, how we are looking? How we looking? We beating the maths or the maths beating me? Maths broadside in anybody? Maths broadside in anybody or anybody broadside in the maths? So I want to do back this paper. Why you want to do back the paper? Here, you got another chance to do back the paper next month and a half. That is your chance to do back the paper. So don't worry. Be cooking with gas. So I guess I do something and I bet. All right, let's proceed. All right, so 9:30. Any let me see. What school do we still have on? Do we have rep school and do we have any of my students still on, or yeah ditch me? Any of my students still on? Let me see the loyal ones. Anyway, so item 5, the table below shows the time to the nearest minute taken by 50 students to walk to school. Complete the frequency table above. This was too easy. This was too easy, man. Yeah, by Jiva, my Koni Tagore, Wawi, and Barbies. Rino. I'm gonna sleep. Uh, all right, let's go. So frequency table. So let's complete this. So we know this is midpoint. I got a video on TikTok that talked about some mistakes students make in frequency table. I hope nobody made those same mistakes that I identified. So midpoint. So to find midpoint, all we do is we add these two. Let me see what's going on in the chat. We cooking. All right. So my students gone for real. Why? No, let me say anything. All right. All right, noted. So let's go. Midpoint, to find midpoint, all we do is we add up these two. So we got 1 plus 5, and then we divide it by 2. So 1 plus 5 is 6. 1 plus 5 is 6 divided by 2 would give us 3. And we just do the same thing as we go along. So 6 plus 10 would be 16 divided by 2. 16 divided by 2 give us 8. 11 plus 15. 11 plus 15 would give us what, boy? 26. 26 divided by 2 is 13. 16 plus 20 is 36. 36 divided by 2 is 18. 25 plus 21 will give us 46. 46 divided by 2 will give us 23. And 30 plus 26 would give us 30 plus 26. 30 plus 26 would give us 56. 56 divided by 2 would give us 28. All right. And that is all for the midpoint. Next thing I want, f times x. So we see f is the frequency, x is the midpoint. So all we do is we multiply these two corresponding elements. So 4 times 3 is 12. 7 times 8 is 56. All right, by 7 times 6 is 56. Yeah, man. Let's check in. It's 9 o'clock. So 10 times 13 is 130. 20 times 18 is 360. 6 times 23 would give us 6 times 23 would give us 138. And 3 times 28 will give us 84. And then we gotta get the total as well. So let's add up the total. So this total should be 50. No need to add the midpoint, but if you add it, I don't think they will deduct marks. But and the sum of, when we add up f of x, when we add up all of this, we should get 780. 780. Add this, you should get 50. And that is 3 marks. Easy giveaway. Giveaway marker. St. Ignatius. All right. Let me see. No, Aaron, watch the video. Watch the video. Don't beat yourself. Watch the video. All right. It's best you beat yourself now than to beat yourself in CSEC, eh? Is it possible to access the past mock exam papers? If so, where? And I don't know. All right, so that is that. So let's calculate the mean time taken. All right, let me get some energy. Let me drink some water and get some energy. So calculate the mean time taken. All right, the mean. What? Karasabay in the house? What? Not bad at all, boy. Yeah, Karasabay. Anai, big up yourself. If y'all pass this maths in those two schools, I'll personally come and give you a trophy if you get a grade 1 in maths, right? If any of you get a grade 1 in maths from Karasabay or Anai or so on, grade 1, I'll come and give you a trophy personally, right? So let's go. Mean time taken. So the mean time taken would be, so the mean, we know to find the mean when we're dealing with frequency table. The formula is, this fancy thing is the sum of f of x divided by the sum of x. All this mean, when you add up f of x, which is the same thing that we got here. So this is the sum of f of x. All this means when you total up all the values here. When you total up those values, which is 780, divided by when you total up the sum of f, which is 50. All right, so nothing big and fancy. Even if you don't remember this formula, just know that when you add up all the values for f of x, I divided by the values of f, when you add up all the values of f. So when we divide this here, we should get 780 divided by 50. That would give us 15.6. All right, 15.6. All right, Morara now is also watching. Big up yourself, Morara now. All right. And when I get a grade 1, I'll personally come and give you other trophy as well, eh? And I secondary as well too. Good. So, yeah, 15.6. Now, one hint, right? There's something that I like to call mathematics intuition. All right, the mathematics intuition is basically a common sense, right? Now, if you go and find the mean, let's just the mean time taken. Let's just say you go and find a mean, and your mean is I don't know, 46. For some reason, you calculate your mean and you got 46. Now, your mathematics intuition will tell you that this is wrong. Why is it wrong? Because the longest time that the student took was 30 seconds. Well, not 30 seconds, 30 minutes. So that means the mean can go above the 30 minutes. So this 46 don't tell you if you're going to find some 200 or something, your mathematics intuition will tell you that you did something wrong. So your mean will go for somewhere within the middle here, you know? That's what you call your mathematics intuition. And that's what you want to use throughout the test. Common sense as well. It must be answers must make sense. All right, so let's go. That is the mean, 1 mark. Calculate the probability that a student chosen at random takes at least 21 minutes to walk to school. Or this at least tend to mix up people. Now, why would I always say if I can't remember what they mean by at least and at most, because they sound kind of confusing, right? I would put myself in a scenario, you know. I'm going to, I don't know what I would do now. Can't say game shop because I won't know what is a game shop. Um, that's where you go and play game. Back in the days, there are things like Game Express and so on. But none of you would know about those things in the chat. Um, Let me see where I would go. I don't know. Giftland Mall, right? You want to go Lyman Giftland Mall or any mall or any shop. And your friends say, or you want to go watch the movies, and your friends say, walk with at least $1,000. At least $1,000 means you walk with $1,000 and more, right? If the friends say, walk with at most 10,000, at most means, 10,000, at most 10,000 means 10,000 and below. So always put yourself in those scenarios if you tend to mix up at least and at most, right? Because they can be confusing, especially in an exam environment, when you're panicking. So at least 21 minutes means 21 minutes and more. Right? So if a student takes at least 21 minutes and more, so that would be all these students that fall in here, the 21 minutes and more. So this would be 6 and 3. So 6 plus 3, so 9 students take at least 21 minutes. All right, 6 and 3, 9. So this would be, so 9 students take at least 21 minutes. So let me just put a 9 there. So we know to find probability is equal to the total number of favorable outcomes, the thing that we want. And we know the total number of students that we can possibly get would be 9. Total number of possible outcomes, which would be the thing that we want. Sorry, not possible outcomes, the total number of favorable ones, the ones that we want. So we want 9 students we want. 9 students we can pull out. And then we have the total number of outcomes would be the total number of students that we have in the class, which is 50. So it's 9 over 50, right? That is all layers of probability. 9 over 50. If you divide this, let's see if you get a nice fraction. If you divide this 9 divided by 50, yeah, we'll get 0.18. Right? Some people could leave this as you can also say 18%. All right, and that is that. At least, right? Probability, total number of things that you want. In this case, 9 students. Total number of possible outcomes would be the total number of students in this case. So 9 over 50, or we can say 0.18 or 18%. Anyone you use, they're all correct. All right, and the next one, determine the upper boundary of the class interval 16 to 20. So the upper boundary, now you want to know to differentiate between boundaries and limits. Boundaries, the limits would be these two in numbers. These are limits. This is the upper limit and this is the lower limit. For the upper boundary, all we need to do is add 0.5 to this upper limit, which will just be 20.5. And that is your 1 mark there. All right, how we looking? How we looking? Somebody said, somebody said, how we look, girls? How we looking there? How we looking, girls? Yeah, don't answer that. So yeah, next one, calculate the class width of the class interval. Sorry, you said this test. No, I did not. No, I did not. I wasn't a part of it. I don't know who said this. So calculate the class width. So we have 11 to 15. So the class width, for the class width, so sometimes they will say class width, class size, all of those things, they mean the same thing. So class width is the upper boundary, subtract the lower boundary. So the upper boundary subtract the lower boundary. So you can't use the limits. If you use the limits, you'll get a different answer. So the class width will tell you how far this class stretches, right? So the upper boundary would be, for 15 would be 15.5. Subtract the lower boundary, which would be, instead of adding 0.5, you have to subtract 0.5 from the lower limit. So this would be subtract, instead of 11, we subtract 0.5 from that, we'll get 10.5. And when we subtract this, we'll get a class width of 5. All right, so 1 mark as well. Remember to comment, just like the video so that, YouTube can recommend the video so that your other colleagues can see whenever they doing the studies. All right, so that's that. Next thing you want, determine the upper class limit of the modal time taken. The upper class limit of the modal time taken. So the modal time taken would be the time that has the highest frequency or the highest number of students. So if you look at this, we see the highest number of students will be 20. So the upper, did they say upper or lower class? Upper class limit, the upper class limit for that class would be 20. So the upper class limit would be 20. It's 16 to 20, so the upper class limit would be 20. We're not doing anything for the upper class limit. Because the boundaries, they have to add 0.5 and subtract 0.5. So, know the difference between the limit, the boundaries, and how to find the class width, and how to find mean, how to find probability, and these kind of things. So how are we looking so far? We done how many questions? We had 6, so we done 5 questions. So this one here, this one's the measurement one. I know the last measurement one caused some leaks. All right. So we had 9 for the 6 in the night. Very easy. So scale of 1 to 25,000 is used to draw the map of an island. Calculate the actual distance in km between 2 points on the island if the distance between the points on the map is 36 cm. So they calculate the actual distance in km, right? So first thing we gotta do is find out what is the actual distance in cm. So they told us that the distance between the points on the map is 36. So if between the map is 36, the actual distance would be 36 multiplied by, since it's a scale of 1 to 25,000, it'll be 36 multiplied by 25,000. And 36 multiplied by 25,000, 36 multiplied by 25,000. That would give us 900,000 cm. So 900,000 cm. Now they want the distance in km. So we can't leave this answer. If we leave this answer, we didn't get any markers yet. We gotta convert this cm to km. So there's a thing that I normally do to convert a mnemonic. So if you're ever going to use this mnemonic, know that if you ever heard it, I learned this here in primary school and I never stopped using it even as I went to UG. It's a nice and easy mnemonic to convert. So the mnemonic says to convert different units of measurement. The mnemonic says many Chinese died many days Hong Kong. And so we want to convert from cm to m. So what do? We put a 1 over cm, and to convert To km, we put zeros over all letters until we reach km. So because the 100, because this number is back to the front, that means we have to divide by this number. All right, so this would be 900,000 divided by, so this looks like 100,000. So this will be divided by 100,000. And this will go with that. This zero will go with that zero. This zero will go with that zero. This zero will go with that zero. This zero will go here. So this will give us 9 km. And that is our answer, 9 km. The actual distance on the map is 9 km. How are we looking, chat? Looking, still cooking? Still got pace until the end. Let's see who will make it till the end. This person, we have somebody with number 1 XP. All right. How are we looking, chat? Or can you tell who said the paper? Does it really matter who said the paper? Does it really matter? The fact is you got the paper and it's there to help you to prepare. That's the least important question. The question should be asking is how will I learn all these things on this paper in time for my exam? How will I correct my mistakes? That is the important question. All right. Let's proceed. So this one says the diagram above not drawn to scale shows a wooden prism of a big Wardier prism, my favorite type of solids prism. Shows a wooden prism of length 25 cm. The cross section ABC is a trapezium with AB parallel to BC. BAD is equal to 90 degrees. AB is equal to 12 cm, BC is equal to 5 cm, CD is equal to 8, AD is equal to 3. Calculate the area of the cross section ABC. Calculate the area of the cross section ABC. So it's a trapezium, and I think if you scroll back to the beginning of this paper, you'll get the formula to find area of a trapezium, eh? Let me see. Area of a trapezium, is it there? Yeah, you see area of the trapezium, my goodness. And they even tell you what A and B are in the formula. So yeah, you shouldn't be getting this question. If you got this question wrong, then you are in some serious trouble and I will pray for you, right? So let's go. Area of trapezium. Area is equal to half the sum of the parallel sides, A plus B, multiplied by the height. So it's half the sum of the parallel sides, which would be 8 cm plus 12 cm, multiplied by the height, which is 3 cm. So this would be half. 8 plus 12 is 20 cm squared times 3 cm. Sorry, 8 plus 20 is 20 cm, not 20 cm squared, times 3 cm. So this would be half of 20 is 10. 10 times 3 is 30. So this would be 30 cm squared. And that is the area. That is the area of the trapezium. Good. Next one, the volume of the prism in cm cube of the volume in cm cube of the prism. The thing about finding volume of prisms, and that's why this is why I would always say prisms are my favorite types of solids. All you need to do is find the area of the cross section and you multiply it by the length of the prism. So we already found the area here to be 30 cm squared. The volume now, that's the reason why it's worth 1 mark. The volume will just be this 30 cm, which is this entire area, multiplied by, the length of the prism, which is 25 cm. So you can say volume would be equal to 30 cm squared multiplied by the length, which is 25 cm squared. So the volume will simply be equal to 30 times 25 will give us 750 cm cube for 1 mark. So I got 15 out of 100. Is there any hope for me in CSEC maths? Yes. You have 1 month when you go UG. When people go to UG, you're technically given like, a month or so to study. Not even a month, something less. And UG is when you go UG, you're exposed to something brand new, something that you're seeing for the first time, and you have, that time to learn it. So you have lots of hope, right? When I did a mock exam when I was in school, fifth form, I think I got 28 percentage overall. And I went on to get a grade 1. So there is hope for you, whosoever asks a question. Let me see. Joshua? Yeah, there is hope for you, right? But you got to decide. If is it that as you go up to CSEC, if you will continue preparing the same way that you have been preparing, or you will actually dedicate yourself for the entire month, meaning you give up whatever distractions you have and focus on the exam. Or, you bubble until a couple of days before the exam, then you start more the videos on YouTube and so on. That won't help. You have to start now and you have to practice. You have to actually put pen on paper and practice. Not just look at videos and whatever you do. You have to literally write and practice, work the questions. Right? That is the only way you will be prepared. Right? I like how you were seeing me working this question here. What you should do after, bust your past people book and go and tackle. I'd say dedicate each night to a question. Look for all the number one question and dedicate yourself to answer all of those questions. Next night, you choose number two. Algebra, you go on YouTube, you look at some algebra videos, tighten up the areas, and then you go and work the question. That is it. Nothing big and fancy, right? Anyway, so the total surface area in cm squared of the prism. So the thing about finding total surface area is that all you need to do is find the area of all of the surfaces. So I will zoom up here and find the area of each one of these surfaces. All right, total surface area means you find the area of all the surfaces on this solid. So we already have this area here. That means we already have this back area as well, all right? There's a back area here, so we know that is covered. Next thing we need to do is find the area for this surface. So we can find, I'll write it right on the shape. Let me write it in a different color. So the area of this surface here would be, the length is 5, the width is 25, so it would be 5 cm times 25 cm. That would give us 5 times 25 would give us 125 cm squared. And the area of the top piece would be, so the length here is 25 and the width is 8. So the area would be 25 cm times 8 cm. And this will give us 25 times 8. 200 cm squared. And then I have to find the area of the bottom piece. You can't see the bottom, but we can see the measurement for the bottom. So the area of the bottom would be, so we see the length here is this, and the width is this. So the area of the bottom piece would be 25 cm times 12 cm. So this would be area will be 25 times 12. Will give us 300 cm squared. Hence, we can say the total surface area would be, all we need to do now is add up all of the areas. So we add up all the areas, so we know 30. So it'd be 30 cm squared plus, and we got another 30 here as well. So 30 cm squared plus, we can add up the bottom piece. So 300 cm squared. So let me take off. We got this piece here. We got this piece at the back here. We got the bottom piece. Let's add this one here. So plus 125 cm squared. And we got this top piece here plus 200 cm squared. Are we missing any? We're missing this back piece. Remember, there's a back area here as well. All right, we're missing the back piece. So let's find the area of that back piece. So the area of the back would be, so we see the width here is 3, and the length would be 25. So it's 3 times 25. That would give us 75 cm squared. So you add in that 75 cm squared. And let's see if you'll get the answer. So 30 plus 30 plus 300 plus 125 plus 200 plus 75. That would give us total surface area of 160 cm squared. And that's the answer there, 160. So all you needed to do was just find the area for all the surfaces and add them together. I think this question was worth how many marks? 4 marks, right? A lot of marks, a lot of easy giveaway mark, eh? A lot of easy mark, nothing big and fancy you had to do. All you needed to do was find the area for all the surfaces, and you just gotta make sure you cater for all the surface. All right, we almost forgot this one at the back. So that is the answer for that. All right, 760. Did I put 1? 760, right? 760, not 1. How are we looking, chat? So that is that. 9 marks. How are we looking so far? We done 6 questions. So this one, draw figure 4 of the sequence on the grid above. Figure 4, if you got this one wrong, then all right. Let me ask the chat. If somebody got this one wrong, this one drawing this figure here, what do you think? What do you think should happen? What do you think they should do? All right, I'll leave that to the chat. Let me see. And keep your comment decent. Keep it decent, or else I'm gonna ban y'all. What do you think they should do if they got this one wrong? So let's go. So figure 1, we got 1, this was square, we got 4. Obviously, we just keep adding on around the square, right? So figure 3. We need to do it. The thing is, you draw back the figure before. So let's draw back. Let's draw back this figure. I'll draw this back. And then to get figure 4, all we need to do, we draw in 1 at the top here. And then we draw out 1 here. And that would be our figure 4. Right? All we kept doing, we kept drawing around it. This is how we kept doing. Just kept drawing around. So that's all we need to do for figure 4. Right? Figure 4. Anybody got this one wrong? Just curious. Go back to Nora. Let me see. Go back to Nora school. Go back to preschool. I was busting my brain trying to remember what Sora said in the last live stream. That means you did not. That means you did not practice enough, right? And sure, after this live, whatever you learn from this live, go and practice it, right? Don't bubble. Don't bubble. Anyways, let's proceed. All right, let's go. The next one. Now, this one was an easy pattern question as compared to mock exam 2. Mock exam 2, the pattern questions shake everybody up. Well, most persons. This one was easier. So let's look at the pattern. So we get the instruction, study the pattern of numbers in each row of the table below. Each row relates to one of the shapes in the sequence of the shape above. Some rows were not included in the table. So we got 1, we start off with 1 times 2, and then multiply by 2 again. And then the second one, we have 2 times 3, and we multiply by the same 2. And then the next pattern, we have 3 times 4, multiply by 2 as well. So we see we're increasing in 1 here, and whatever number this is increasing by 1 to that number. Say for 4, it will be 4 multiplied by, and we see the next number will increase by 1 from this number. So it's 4 multiplied by 5, and then we see we're always multiplying by 2. And when we work that out, 4 times 5 is 20. 20 times 2 would give me 40. And then for this one, 7. So we know it will be 7 multiplied by, and the next number will be increased by 1. So it's be 7 multiplied by 8, multiplied by 2 again. You always multiplying by 2 at the end. So this would be 7 times 8 times 2. That would give me 112. And then the last one, they say n. Well, not the last one, the second to last one. So this one would be n multiplied by, and so we see this next number is increased by 1. So this will be n plus 1 multiplied by 2. And that is that. The last one, they told us when n is equal to 10. So this will just be 10 multiplied by, we add 1 to the 10, 11 times 2. And then this will be 10 times 11 is 110. 110 times 2 would give me 220. And this one was easy. This one was reasonably easy. All right. This one was reasonably easy. All right. Let's go. So compute the rows. We did that. Write an expression in terms of n to represent the pattern, calculate the number of toothpicks in the square. All right, so we already found that to be n times n plus 1 multiplied by 2. We already did this. This is this one here, right? Well, I can simplify this to, this can be simplified to n times n. N times n will give me n squared, n plus 1, n times 1 will give me plus n. And everything we multiply by 2. So this will just simply be 2n squared plus 2n, right? But I think this here should be enough, right? I think this here should be enough. I think they just ask us for the number of toothpicks in the square. And this one is the number of toothpicks in the square, right? So this here should be enough for this one. But in case they had asked us to find this, you would have had to do what I just did. But nevertheless, complete the table and inserting the values of this. We already did this. So let's proceed to question 8, functions. The thing that I rate as the easiest thing in CSEC. Some people would not agree. What time is it? All right, it's 10:08. All right, so I'm feeling like I blocked some people in this chat. If you're not gonna comment on things relating to the video, I'll block you, right? So I think I got each other's number, WhatsApp, and so on. Yeah, I could gaff on WhatsApp. Right? It can be distracting. I would read the comments to see persons what are their thoughts on what I'm doing. So let's go. If h is equal to 1 plus 3x and k of x is equal to x plus 2, find h of negative 5. So h of negative 5, this simply means we're just taking negative 5 and we're putting it inside the function h of x. So h of negative 5 would simply be 1 plus 3. Instead of x, we'll have negative 5. Somebody said they ate this part. Love to see it. All right, I'll check back Isaac, but I don't think so. Circle theorem. Where is it? Total surface area. Man, I added right. 760. 760 I got right, Isaac. I don't think so. I'll check it back after though, but I don't think so. I don't think it's wrong. Anyway, so this would be 1. So 3 times negative 5 would give me a negative 15. So 1 minus 15 would give me a negative 14. And that is a nice and easy 1 mark there. Next thing they want us to find is k of 4. So they told us k of x is equal to x plus 2. So this would be, instead of x plus 2, we'll have 4 plus 2. And 4 plus 2 is 6. Easy 1 mark. And then for 2 marks, they want us to find hk of 4. So let me write back the function h. So the function h of x is equal to 1 plus 3x, and k of x is x plus 2. So they want us to find h of 4. So a nice and easy thing that we can do, you're going to find k of 4 for us, and then you take that answer for k of 4 and you put it inside of h. So we already found k of 4 to be 6 at the top here. So we can use that answer for k of 4 and put it inside the function h. So we can say, instead of h, k of 4, we can say h of 6. That is what k of 4 is equal to. So h of 6 would be 1 plus 3 times, instead of x, we'll have 6. And this is 1 plus 3, 6 is 18. So this is equal to 1 plus 18 is 19. So you can say hk of 4 is equal to 19. And that is that. Anything else big and fancy? And we have this one, So let me just copy these functions. I'll paste at the bottom here. So this one went for 3 marks. So this one was probably the hardest one. So they want us to find hk inverse of x. So the first thing you need to do is find h of k. So let's find h of k first of all. So h of kx, what we're doing, we're taking the function k and we're putting it inside the function h. So this would be, how are we doing that? We're taking this function and we're putting it inside this function by putting it where x is. So this would be 1 plus 3 instead of x. We are replacing it and we put in the function k of x, which is this thing here, x plus 2. So this will be 1 plus, so we distribute this 3 throughout this bracket here. So this will be 1 plus 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 2 would be 6. And this will be 3x, and we put the like terms together, plus 6 plus 1. And this would be 3x. 1 and 6 would be 3x plus 7. So hk of x is equal to 3x plus 7. So we're not done there though. They want us to find the inverse of this. So to find the inverse of this, we go through the steps to find the inverse of a function. Step 1, we replace the function with y. So we'll have y is equal to 3x plus 7. Step 2, we interchange the x and the y. So wherever you have x, you'll put y. Wherever you have y, you'll put x. We'll have x is equal to 3y plus 7. And then the last step, the big man step, we make y the subject. So this is plus 7, and we take that over to become minus 7. So x minus 7 is equal to 3y. And then you take over the 3, it's multiplying. When we take the will divide, so we'll have x minus 7 all divided by 3 is equal to y. So y is equal to x minus 7 divided by 3. And the last step, we replace y with the inverse function. In this case, we wanted to find hk inverse of x. Hence, this will be equal to x minus 7 all divided by 3. All right, and this went for 3 marks. Nice and easy, 3 marks. Somebody said I'm unable to do no more. All right. So I think I got lots of videos talking about the inverse of function and so on. I must scroll. I don't have lots of videos on YouTube. I got like 100 or something. But I must go on my YouTube channel and do some. There's a young lady from, I can't remember which region. She told me she's now a math teacher. And the reason why she turned a math teacher was that, she looked at every video that I had on YouTube and she went and wrote CXC and she apparently she did so well that she's now teaching maths in the hinterland, right? So yeah, if you feel lost, scroll through. Nothing to lose. Scroll through and learn. All right, so the value of x when hk of x is equal to 0. So hk of x is equal to 0. So we found the function hk of x here. So hk of x, we found to be equal to 3x plus 7. And it told us hk of x is equal to 0. So they want the value of x. So all we need to do is replace hk of x with 0. So this would be 0 is equal to 3x plus 7. And now they want to find the value of x. That means we're just solving for x. So we take over this 7 to become minus 7. So this would be negative 7 is equal to 3x. And the 3 is multiplying the x. So we take it over to divide. So we'll have x is equal to negative 7 divided by 3. And x is equal to negative 7 over 3. And there's our value for x. All right, let me see 7 divided by 3, we get 3. All right, I got a fancy answer. Let's leave it as negative 7 over 3. My head is hurting, so take a Panadol, man. All right, so that is that. So we continuing now this here. The graph above represents the function f of x is equal to x squared minus 3x plus c. They want the value of c. So the thing is c, when you think about c, when you have the equation y equal mx plus c, that means c is the y-intercept, the part of the line that crosses the y-axis. And in the same way, let me write it back. In the same way, if you have the quadratic ax squared plus bx plus c, c here is also the part of the graph that crosses the y-axis. So I just put plus and minus just in case anybody wants to get technical. So c is the part of the graph that crosses the y-axis. C will always be that in any function, whether it's a linear function, which would be a straight line, or a quadratic function like this. So the value of c would be the part of the graph that crosses the y-axis. So we see if this is the x-axis, this would be the y-axis. So the y-axis is sometimes called f of x as well. F of x is the same thing as the y-axis, right? So c would be this part right here. So we can say c is equal to 2. So c is equal to 2. As easy as that. All right? The values of x for which f of x is equal to 6. So they say, so I should read. They say use the graph to determine, right? So we have to use the graph, right? You have to follow the instructions. So the values of x for which f of x is equal to 6. So when y is equal to 6, they want to know what are the values of x. So when y is equal to 6, what are the values of x? All right, so let me get another color. So when y is equal to 6, so we see 6 is right here. So when y is equal to 6, what are the corresponding x values for y? So let's draw across. So when y is equal to 6, we see the corresponding y values will go right here and right here. So if we take the coordinates of that, this will be 4, 6. I take the coordinates of this will be -1, 6. So when y is equal to 6, or we can say f of x is equal to 6, X would be equal to, so we can say X is equal to, so this is X, this is Y, this is X, this is Y. So we see X is equal to -1 and X is equal to, we also see 4. So those are our values when f of x is equal to 6. All I need to do f of x is the same thing as when y is equal to 6. So all I need to do is just find where 6 is and you go straight across and get the corresponding x values. All right, as easy as that. All right, as easy as that. Somebody said skip it, don't skip it in CSEC. I need sword knowledge. I need my knowledge, man. You gotta develop your own knowledge, man. Practice, practice. All right, so that is that. So we're wrapping up the paper. We at number 9. How are we looking for that? That was easy, right? The thing is, you see how easy that was, and the only way you can figure out how easy it was is if you had practice, right? These kind of questions, they've been here before. CXC has been around since 19 somebody. If you work many past papers, you will see questions like that in your exam, right? There are only certain ways you can ask the same thing. So that is why past papers are important, eh? Just gotta practice. Anyways, let's go. In the diagram below, AD is equal to 12.6 cm, DC is equal to 22.5, and BAD is equal to 37 degrees. Right? I tried and failed. We can talk in class. Anyways, somebody must do an edit for me. Edit of this video, screen record and do an edit and send it to me. I know y'all go do the editing. Decide where to edit. So let's go. Determine the length BD. So BD, where's BD? BD is right here. So they want BD. So we see they told us AD is equal to that, BC is equal to 22.5, BAD is equal to that. And we also see this here is a right angle triangle formed. So that means when you see it's a right angle triangle, you have to use the ratios, right? We can't use the ratios if you want to find a side or an angle. So we use the trig ratios, BD. So BD, let's call this here, let's label the side. So let's call this, since we have this angle, let's call this the opposite. And this is the hypotenuse, and we're given the adjacent. So let's see, let's put on the ratio. Some old horses can always hear their owners approach. By the way, these things are in front of the paper, right? But I enable scroll, so I'll use that mnemonic to get that easily. So we see we want to find the opposite and we're given the adjacent. Which one has that? So we see opposite and adjacent, we see tan has that. So we can say tan theta is equal to the opposite over the adjacent. Hence, you can say tan theta in this case is 37 degrees, is equal to the opposite, which is the thing that we want to find, which is BD, is over the adjacent, which is 12.6. So you can say BD is equal to, this 12.6 is dividing, and we take it over, it will multiply, so we'll have 12.6 multiplied by tan 37, and the BD is equal to 12.6 multiplied by tan 37. That would give us 9.49478. So we know they told us the wrongs have corrected 3 significant figures. This would be 9.49 cm. Three marks? Hey, 3 marks, eh? Okay, not bad. 3 easy marks. All right, next one. So let me put in at 9 point. Let me put that in. This is 9.49. Next one, they want us the size of angle BCD. BCD would be this angle here. So now we see we are given 2 sides. Now we want to find an angle. So let's label this side now, this side. So since this is the reference angle, we can call this side the opposite. And this is the right angle. So hence this side here would be the hypotenuse. So you have the opposite and the hypotenuse. Which one of the ratio has that? So the opposite and hypotenuse, we see opposite and hypotenuse, we see sine. Sine has that. So I'll work it on here. So we say sine theta is equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse. So sine theta, because theta is where you want to find BCD. BCD, right? BCD, yeah. Sine theta will be equal to the opposite, which is 9.49 divided by the hypotenuse, which is 22.5. Hence, this will be sine theta. When we divide this, we'll have 9.49 divided by 22.5. This will give us 0.4217778. Hence, to find for theta, we take over the sine to become sine inverse. We'll have theta is equal to sine inverse 0.4217778. And if we find the sine of that, second function sine of 0.4217778. I wrap it up. We'll get theta being equal to 24.946878. So the thing is, the total when we're dealing with angles, we wrong it off correct to one decimal place. So we can say theta is equal to 24.9 degrees. So theta is equal to that. So let me bring this down. And that is our answer for theta. Nice and easy. 2 marks. Anybody got this one right? How are we looking? I say, yeah, very dedicated. Guys, 10:30 in the night. And we are looking at maths, right? That is dedication. Hope everybody pass and looking here. The fact that you're here means, you know, you got the agility, not the agility, bad word. You have the determination. Anyways, this one, and then I think we are almost done. So the diagram below shows 3 boats, A, B, C, A, B, and C, which are assumed to be in horizontal plane. Boat B is 500 meters north of boat A, and boat C is 700 meters from boat B. The bearing of C from A is 15 degrees. Well, 0.15 degrees. Determine the bearing of A from C. The big man bearings, A from C. The word from will tell you where, the bearing has to be drawn. So A from C. So from C, we draw a north line at C. And then we go all the way around here. And this will give us the bearing. So the thing is, if I isolate this thing, right? If I isolate this thing and draw this here, and draw it like this and say this is 15. And then I want to find this bearing here. I know these 2 angles here, these 2 angles on the inside, they are supplementary. So if here is 15, then I know here would be 180 minus 15, which will give me 165. So if here is 165, then I know this bearing piece would be 360 because a circle will complete minus 165. Hence, this will give me 360 minus 165 will give me 195. Hence, the answer would be the bearing of A from C is 195 degrees. Why am I writing it pink? Anyways, we already did. You already commit to the pink. Sorry, we tired. We're near done. All right, so 195 is that bearing, 195. Anybody got this one? How are we looking? We losing some soldiers. Come on, we got fight till the end. We at number 9, we're wrapping up. Sorry, bearings. All right, That is a funny comment. So we're doing bearings, and right now I'm bearing sleep. Anyways, that's funny, hilarious. All right, so we're wrapping up. So the next one, calculate the distance between both A and both C in meters to three significant figures, both A and both C. Both A and, oh, sorry, both B and both C, both B. So they want us to find this distance here. All right, so to find that distance, all we need to do is use one of the rules, the trig rules. So the thing is, we are not given an angle and two angles and a corresponding side. We are just given one angle. So we got to use the cosine rule, eh? The cosine rule, and I think the cosine rule is in front of the paper as well. So the cosine rule says a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc something, something, something. Let me go back to the rule. Let me go back to the rule. All right, it's late, right? So let's see. Yeah, a squared is equal to b squared. A squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc times cos a. All right. So, yeah, that is the rule. Let's blame lateness. So to find BC, which is here, so let's label this thing here. So you know if here is A, the opposite side here would be small a. If here is B, the opposite side would be small b. And if here is C, the opposite side would be small c. So we actually want to find A. So we can say the formula is A squared is equal to B squared plus C squared minus 2BC times cos A. So let's put in those values. So we see A is what we want to find. A squared is equal to B, which is 700 squared, plus C, which is 500 squared, minus 2 times BC, which is 700 times 500, multiplied by cos A, which is cos 15. Now we need to do a nice and easy thing though. We just need to work this out. So I'll read my thing. Which thing now, why? Anyways, type it again. I didn't see it. So let's work this out. A squared is equal to when we square 700. I want to see who will make it to the end. Anybody was here since the beginning? Let's see who will make it to the beginning to the end. Let me see who has that. Who's dedicated? Let me see who's the number one commenter. 150 XP. So number one and number two and number three tie. Anyways. All right, so when we square 700, we'll get 490,000 plus when we square 500, we'll get 250,000 minus 2 times 700 times 500 is equal to 700, and we can multiply this by cos one time by cos 15, and we should get 676,148.07. So we can just leave that just like that. So this will be A squared is equal to, we work this out, 490,000 plus 250,000, subtract 676,148. That will give us 63,852. And then A would be equal to, when we take over the square, it becomes the square root of 663,852. A would be equal to, when you square root this, we get a value of 252.6895. So the total is wanted the three significant figures, so hence A would be equal to 253 cm. So it's AB. All right, that is the answer. 253. So 253 cm. All right, let me see. Let me call these names who are here. All right, I call it just now. So the next one, the last one for this one, the bearing of both C from B is theta degrees as shown in the diagram. Calculate the value of theta. So they want us to find the value of this theta. So I think that we can do. We can find the value of this angle here. Can find the value of this angle. And then, that will help us to find for theta. So let's find for that angle. We have all three sides and an angle. So that means we can use this sine rule. So let's use the sine rule to find for this angle here. All right. So let me just call this angle C. So the sine rule will say let's use the A over sine A is equal to B over sine, not B, we want to find C, so C over sine C. So A would be 253, because this is A, this is side A, over sine A. Sine A is this 58 degrees. And that is equal to C, which is what we want to find, over sine C, which is sine this 500. Am I going right? All right, all right, let me go this back. So this should be A, which is 253 over sine A, which is sine 15, is equal to C. So this is a big C, and this is the small c. That's why I mix it up. So C is 500 over sine C, which is the thing that we want to find. All right, that is that. Kind of mix it up just now. So if the head hurt, you can watch back the last piece at the end tomorrow morning when you wake up and you're fresh. So let's go cross multiply. All right, so cross multiply. So this would be sine C times 253 is equal to 500 times sine 15. Hence, sine C would be equal to, this is multiplying, so we take double divide. So 500 multiplied by sine 15, all divided by 253. And if you punch it in our calculator, we'll have 500 times sine 15, all divided by 253. This will give us sine C being equal to 0.5115. And then to finish this off, you take over the sine, it will become C is equal to sine inverse 0.5115. And C would be equal to, we take the sine inverse of this, we'll get 30.76. So to make it easy, you can round it off and say 30 C is equal to 31 degrees, right? So here is equal to 31 degrees. So if here is 31, that means this piece here would simply be 180 minus 31 plus 15. This would be 180, subtract 31 plus 15 minus 180 will give us, work this out, you'll get 134. So this angle here is 134. And if there is 134, and we can see this is a straight line, because it's a straight line, we can simply say theta will be equal to 180 minus 134, which will give us 46 degrees. Right, 46 degrees is equal to theta. A lot of work. So 46 degrees is equal to theta. Anybody got this one correct? No? Guys, don't let this one test define you, let it refine you. Love that, Tiana. Tiana, whoever you are, love that quote. Tiana Stevens. Love that quote. Don't let this test define you, let it refine you. That's absolutely. Let me take a screenshot of this. Hold on. Let me take a screenshot of this comment. Good. All right, last question. The last one. So we're wrapping up. Question 10. Big up to those that made it to the end. Give yourself a tap on the shoulder. But we still got one more question to the last one. Question 10. So the diagram shows the position vectors OA, OB, and the displacement vector AB. Right? As a column vector in the form XY. OA. OA would be O to A. So all we need to do is count across. So it's in the vector form XY, right? This X will tell you how much time you move across and how much time you move up. The Y will tell you that. So OA would simply be, so to move from A, we go 1, 2, 3 across to get in line. So this will be 3. And then we go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 3, 5. So 3, 5 would be the vector OA, and OB would be from O again, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across. And then we go up 1, 2. So 5, 2 would be the vector OB. The last one I want is AB. So to move from A to B, we go 1, 2 across. And then we go down 1, 2, 3. So this would be 2, -3. So 2, -3. All right, nice and easy marks. So this one was probably one of the easiest vector questions you'll ever see in your whole life. I'm not, hopefully CSEC will bring it just as easy. All right. I have to do a vector. I think I'll do a vector live at some point. I love vectors. I'll do a vector live. They always come every year. So I'll do a vector live and go through all the different types of vectors that you can find in an exam. So this one, L and N are two matrices where L is equal to 3, 2, 1, 4, and N is equal to -1, 3, 0, and 2. They want you to find evaluate 2L plus N. So nice thing to do is find 2L for us. So 2L would be equal to 2 times the matrix L, which is 2 times 3, 2, 1, 4. So this would be, you just multiply 2 by everything. So 2 times 3 would be 6, 2 times 4, 2 times 2 would be 4, 2 times 1 would be 2, 2 times 4 would be 8. So that is 2L. So then we have to add this now to N. So N is -1, 3, 0, 2. So this will be, we add the corresponding element. So this will be 6 plus -1. So 6 plus -1. Then we add the 4 plus the 3. Then we add the 2 plus the 0. Then we add the 8 plus the 2. And this will give us 6 plus -1. This will turn into 6 minus 1, which will be 5. And 4 plus 3 would be 7. 2 plus 0 is 2. 8 plus 2 would be 10. And that would be our matrix. 5, 7, 2, 10. Nice and easy, 2 marks. And the last one, write the following simultaneous equations in the form AX is equal to B, where A, X, and B are matrices. So you have the simultaneous equation. 5x plus 2y is equal to 9. And 3x plus 4y is equal to 11. So all we need to do is open a matrix here, and this is equal to a matrix. So all we do, we take the coefficients from all of the terms, and we put that in a bracket. This will be 5, 2, 3, and 4. And then we take the x and the y and put that here. And last but not least, you put the 9 and the 11 there. And that is how you get your marks there. And hence, determine the values of x and y. I think they didn't even say use the matrix method. Anyways, they say hence, so that means hence you gotta use what is above, eh? So what you need to do, you need to carry this over the equal sign so that you can leave x and y by itself and then equate the corresponding elements. So when we take this over, you know, the thing in us will say it's multiplying, we take it over, we'll divide. But no, for matrices, when you take this over the equal sign, it will turn into the inverse. It will turn into the inverse of what it was. So we need to find the inverse of 5, 2, 3, 4. All right, so let's find the inverse of that. So the inverse of that matrix would be, the inverse of any matrix is equal to 1 over the determinant multiplied by something that we call the adjoint. So to find the determinant, first of all, it would be AD minus BC. So the determinant would be this times that, 5 times 4, subtract these two, 2 times 3, hence it would be 5 fours, 20, minus 2, 3, 6, hence the determinant would be 20, 20 subtract 6 would be 14. So the determinant of 14, put a box around it. And the adjoint, for the adjoint, I love the adjoint. For the adjoint, you're switching these two. So wherever you have 5, you put 4, and then if you have 4, you put 5. Then you're flipping the signs of these two. So if this is a positive, it turns to a negative 2, and this is a positive 3, it turns to a negative 2. So the inverse now would be 1 over the determinant, which is 14, multiplied by the adjoint, which is 4, negative 2, negative, hold on, this should be negative 3, eh? Negative 3 and 4. So this here is a negative 3, right? And to finalize the inverse, we multiply this 1 over 14 by everything in the bracket. But for the sake of this question, I will say you pause at that step. You stop at that step because it will make this next step easier. So you take this entire thing as it is, and you put this over the equal sign to multiply this. So the thing is, when you bring this over the equal sign, you have to put it in front. You have to put it in front here to multiply, because if you put it behind, it would not be compatible for multiplication. So this would be 1 over 14. So the answer now would be xy is equal to 1 over 14. And we put back the matrix 4, negative 2, negative 3, and 4, multiplied by 9, 11. We basically took this matrix over the equal sign, and it turned into the inverse, and we just put it to multiply this here. All right, that is what we did. So we do matrix multiplication now. So matrix multiplication, we do row by column. So this is a 2 by 2 matrix, and this is a 2 by 1 matrix. So they are compatible, and our answer will end up being a 2 by 1 matrix. Yeah. Thank you. So this should be 4, 5, eh? 4, 5. Excellent. Thank you. Who said that? Derica. Derica is sharp. Good. 4, 5. Yeah. Good. So let's multiply row by column. So let's put back this 1 over 14. So row by column, we go row by column. So this will be 4 times 9 plus negative 2 times 11. All right. Then we go to bottom row now. Negative 3 times 9 plus 5 times 11. So how do you know you're going correct? You look at these two values here. You know, as long as they're the same, you know, you're going correct or you're going very wrong. All right, but yeah, it means you're going correct though. So let's finish it off. So we'll have 1 over 14 multiplied by 4 nines. 9 fours up by 40. 36. 9 4 is 36. Negative 2 times 11 will be negative 22. So plus negative 22. Negative 9 times 3 will be negative 27. Plus 5 times 11 is 55. And this will simplify to 36 plus negative 22 will be 36 minus 22. So 1 over 14. So 36 minus 22 would give us 14. So we're looking like a nice thing to multiply by 1 over 14. And negative 27 plus 55 would give us 28. Hence, when you multiply all of this by 14, we'll end up with 14 over 14 and 28 over 14. Hence, this will simplify to 14 divided by 14 is 1. 28 divided by 14 is 2. Hence, x, y would be equal to that. So we can say x would be equal to the corresponding element, which is 1, and y is equal to 2. And these are our values for x and y, and this is your answer for that for 4 marks. So how did you do in the test? I think this is the last one, eh? And that is it. That is it for that. Let me see who stayed from start till beginning. If you stayed from start till beginning, let me see it. Let me see. I'll say which school you're from as well, and then we'll wrap up and I'll call some school's name and yeah, but that is it though. Let me see. Anybody stayed from start till the end? All right. Good. Vashi. Fish, Fash. Yeah, that's some fancy names, boy. Anyways, big up yourself. Any one of my students still here? Let me see my committed students. I'll shout out. Let me see. I'll give you a big up in class tomorrow. Let me see. Renoop, Westminster, Westdam from starting, Samuels, Miller, Nathaniel, Westminster. We have a lot of Westminster here, man. Matthews Ridge, me from Anai, big up yourself, Potential, Signal, 3 Miles, Diamond. None of my students are here. Okay. Oh, I see. Anyways, large up yourself. So that was the mock exam. Oh yeah, I found the live. Sorry, into the construction. I can do a video on construction and post it on TikTok or YouTube. Right? Oh yeah, I found the live. Oh yeah, I found it. Was it helpful? Think you understand the paper better now to prepare? DC sees a fox. What? All the way DC is here as well. Big up yourself, DC. Sid Roses. Okay, Amber. Amber is here. All right, nice Amber. Glad you're still here. Anyways, y'all take care, and that is the end of the live. I'll see y'all next time, in which I'll come back with some of my students, and you know if they're willing, that is, if they want to come, we'll come. Anyway, so let me end this live before it's a bit longer, and I'm happy those of you that stayed until 11 o'clock. It's 11 o'clock and you're doing maths. That shows dedication, eh? That, you know, you will pass. With this kind of dedication, you will pass. So take care, enjoy the rest of your night, and best wishes in your preparation. I'll see you back in the next live that I will do. All right, follow me on TikTok, subscribe on YouTube to be notified when I'm live, and also follow on TikTok so that I normally post like a